Good morning, and thank you, Dean Trianis. What a wonderful, wonderful introduction. And congratulations to all of you graduates and to the family and friends that are here with you and have supported you along the way. As you heard, I am a proud graduate of the University of Maryland in 1975, I might add. And I often reflect and say, hey, I grew up here. This was my beginning. And so I thank you for the generous welcome. But this institution gave me so much more than education. It gave me a worldview. It gave me an open mind. It gave me the beginning of a journey that, as I look back after over 40 years, has been quite spectacular. But the thing I remember most are not all of the profits that I generated, the customer relationships built, the brands that I transformed. It's the people that I met along the way, and the people who helped me discover myself and become me, and the people that I've helped on their journey as they move forward. So, as you heard, I just retired from TIA, and I have to admit, I failed retirement miserably in about 10 minutes and started my own firm with a group of very talented, enterprising, entrepreneurial spirits with lots of experience. So we're already working with many startups and mid-sized companies and helping them to transform and to change and to grow. You know, it's my way of continuing to give back. So with that, I call it my encore because I hate the word retirement. And that also includes many wonderful passions, such as some of the nonprofits I work with, such as Make-A-Wish of America, where you can help people fulfill their mission and find their dreams. So I'm a lucky one. And so I'm going to be here today to talk to you about unlocking some of your potential. Now, I'm not going to stand here and give you advice. As a matter of fact, there's a great deal of research that says people hate to get advice. They dig their heels in, they cross their arms, and then they do just the opposite. So I'm not going to do that today. So I decided to remarket this as ideas. They're ideas that have been probably the most impactful and the most profound for me personally and for other colleagues. And oh, by the way, I am going to limit it to 3. So I'll tell you a few stories along the way. But if you really think of it, ideas are about the choices that we will make throughout our lives, the choices that you will have in front of you, and what you do when that moment comes. Do you go the easy way or the hard way? Do you take the safe route or do you take a risk? Take a chance, open a new door, and think differently about who you are, what you do, and what makes you different. And so, you know, there's a lot of non-scientific research, my own of course, which says that these ideas have nearly 100% success rate. So they really have made a great difference for me. So let's get started and talk about what it takes to really make your mark. So I'm going to start with the first idea, which is a little unconventional. So it is that failure stings a lot less when you appreciate how it can grow you. So if you think about it, how many people start with the concept of failure? And believe me, failure hurts. But I'm going to ask you to think differently and to embrace it, because you will all face it. And Lord knows I've made missteps. Going to the wrong company, chosen the wrong culture, and what about when you get that wrong boss or you make that wrong decision? All of those are points that are really hard, and I'm not going to pretend they're easier, but it's what you do about it and what you think about when those moments happen. As a matter of fact, we all have choices, multiple paths, 2 paths. You can take the positive route or the negative route. You can think about embracing the situation and think forward, Or you can get mired up and wallow in the past. Both are choices that only you can make. And I would tell you that I learned early on to appreciate growth through failure. If you fail forward, fail quickly, and learn, you will come out of it with more to give. As a matter of fact, I often call them learnings. And even the people that I've worked with over the years, where they've made mistakes, and they feel terrible when they walk in the room, you say, you know what? Let's look at this as a learning. What did we get out of it? I'll share with you a story. Early in my career, I had the opportunity to go and start the investor relations program at one of the fastest growing tech companies in the Seattle area, Microsoft. And boy, was I excited. So I left MCI and I went right to Seattle. And I got there, and in the first month, I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, this culture, this isn't who I am. So after shedding a few tears and getting over it, I stepped back and I said, no, embrace this as an incredible opportunity. Move forward, build an award-winning program, and then make a choice that you can step proudly from, which is exactly what I did. So when I look back on that situation, and I could have easily gone back to the East Coast and gotten another job right away, no, by embracing it, it was a turning point in my career. I learned so much about the world of tech, and believe me, being in tech in the 90s at the launch of Windows 95, that was pretty incredible. But I will never forget it. And when I look back on it, the people that I met, the relationships that I still have today, I only remember the good because I got so much out of the experience. Don't fear failure. Don't put up artificial boundaries. So many people set lines, and then they set boundaries within the lines, and they don't like to color outside of the lines. We all need a little color. So I'm telling you, get rid of the boundaries, take a chance, and when that happens, when that situation occurs, it's okay, learn from it. Bill McGowan, the founder of MCI, the man who upset the communications industry long ago, used to say to us, go out and make some damn mistakes, but make sure you learn from them. So idea number one. Idea number two, and Jessica, thank you for setting this one up. I totally agree with everything you said. You know, we're in a day where a lot of people think about mentors, and mentors are great. And I know many people who think, oh my God, I only have 6, I've got to get 8. To me, it's not about mentors. As a matter of fact, I won't even talk about mentors. I talk about sponsorship. And I truly believe it's about sponsorship, because sponsors are people who will be with you for life. And in many ways, a true sponsor and a true sponsorship means you get as much as you give. You know, often we go in and we want to draw that information out of people. Tell me what I should do. But take the time to say, what's important to you? How can I help you? How can we work and learn and grow together? Because trust me, those sponsors, they're learning about you, and the more they learn about you, the more they see in your unique value propositions who you are, the more they can help you. And so get to know them. Very early on, I was working at McGraw-Hill in publishing, and Terry McGraw, who was then head of planning, plucked this young marketer out of the business line and said, you're going to come up and you're going to run corporate planning for me. And all I could think of is, what experience do I have to do this job? But whatever, he thinks I can do it, I'm going for it. So I asked a lot of questions. Terry pushed me. He pushed me harder than I've ever been pushed. He tested me. He grew me, but he also got to know me. And to this day, he gave me an incredible gift, a capability that when I look back has impacted my view of companies from the top down, not just the bottom up, for the rest of my life. And today we are still very, very good friends, but he saw something that I didn't even appreciate. And that's what a great sponsor will do. So take the time, understand that a sponsor is going to see things you can't see, but get to know them. It's a two-way relationship. Give as much as you get. And by the way, it's not too early to start being a sponsor. For what you've achieved, bring others along. One of the greatest prides I have is sponsoring so many individuals who had no idea how far they could go and how fast they could get there. And today, those people have followed me in many of the places I worked. And besides, I always tell them it's job security, because someday when I need something to do, they're going to be a CEO somewhere and they'll invite me back to give them a hand. So it will pay off for a lifetime. Third idea. Third idea has to do with career growth. And you know, career growths are really hardly ever linear. If you think about math when you were a kid, it was pretty linear. First you learned arithmetic, then geometry, then algebra, then calculus, you know, kind of everything built upon the next step. And in reality, we do tend to be a bit overplanned in our lives today. But when you step back and you think about careers, a very, very great man who I respect deeply once said to me, Connie, careers are like climbing a rock wall. He goes, you can't go straight up when you climb that rock wall. You're going to go up, sideways, in many cases go down before you go up, and you're going to forge different paths because it's the only way to get to the top of the wall. And you know, I thought that was incredible advice. I started here as a textile chemistry major. And you know what? I had a great plan. My father owned a textile manufacturing company. I was going to go to work in the family business, and I'll be darned if he didn't sell it when I was a senior. So I had to change course. And I was, in 1975, one of 2 women in the United States selling aluminum. Let me tell you, that was an interesting, groundbreaking direction to take. That led me to the beginning of so many other things. And after all, I ended up being a CMO for several large Fortune 100 companies. Who knew back then? But the reality was, it's because when I came to the fork in the road, the one that was, well, this is the obvious place you should go because you're in marketing and you should take the obvious next step. I didn't. I had the courage to take the right turn, meaning right and also luckily correct. But in reality, I didn't always take the obvious path. I had to trust the skills, the foundation that you've all acquired here at your time in the Smith School to move me forward. So let me tell you one more little story. Early on, again, MCI, I was working on changing their brand from a consumer brand to a serious business player way, early back in the 90s. And all of a sudden I got a call to go up to see a man, Dan Ackerson, who was at that time the COO. And he said to me, I have a job I want you to do. And I said, sure, I'm ready for it. What is it? He said, I want you to run investor relations. We're having some real issues with our share owners. And I looked at him, I said, that's interesting. And he goes, you'll work for the new CFO, and you'll join us in finance. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to leave marketing, I'm going to go to finance, I'm going to do this IR thing. And by the way, I don't even know what the job is. So what did I do? I called a sponsor, someone I trusted, and said, hey, they want me to do this job, this investor relations thing. And she said, you'll be fine. She goes, after all, it is the real pinnacle of marketing and relationship management. So I went on to build that program, a lot of trial and error, I must say, and then went on to build an award-winning program for Microsoft, for AT&T, for Bearing Point, and blended that all in before I went back to becoming a CMO or going back into marketing. So you see, I took that unusual fork in the road, and yes, I did call that Lifeline, that sponsor. And together, I trusted the foundation of what I had to scale that rock wall. Now, I might have reached the top of my, what I'll call corporate rock wall, but I've just started on my new rock wall, working with startups and entrepreneurs to help them really discover some of their own potential. So these are ideas that I wanted to share because they're ideas that are very personal. They're ideas that if you really think about them and think about yourself, you can make choices that are the right choices for you. What did we say? First, your career is like climbing a rock wall, and it's not going to be linear. Have the courage when you come to a choice to go sideways, or in some cases, down to fill yourself out before you go up. Have the courage and trust yourself to take that avenue. Number two, sponsors are lifelong relationships. They really are the foundation for your network. It goes both ways, though. You give and you get, and it's not too early to be a great sponsor for those around you and coming behind you. And third, embrace failure. Failure's not so bad. It stings when it happens, but embrace it as a learning and be kind to others when they make mistakes because they're learnings as well. So, congratulations to all of you for your wonderful, wonderful achievements. Congratulations for an incredible beginning. And, you know, if you think about these three things, they all kind of fit together. Now, as part of the foundation, it really is about who you are, what you do, and what makes you different. So as I close, I'm going to give you a little assignment here. And it's something that someone did to me, and it was a bit of self-discovery. So I was doing an interview several years ago on a panel with Mika Brzezinski, and she can be pretty formidable. And she said, okay, turns to the panelists, 3 words that define you. Turns to me and goes, start. So, you know, that's one of those moments where the first thing that comes out of your mouth is the way you go. But what I said was vision, courage, drive. And it was interesting because they just flew out of my mouth. And when I thought about it later, I thought, that's really who I am. That's really what has propelled me. So my assignment for all of you, without thinking, this is not an analytical exercise, say the first 3 words, say them to yourself. 3 words that define you. Think about that. Write them down, and then later really go back and think about what that means for you as you go forward. So trust your foundation, continue to learn, continue to grow, scale that rock wall, follow those dreams. You have unlimited potential. Thank you, happy holiday, and happy beginnings.